Welcome and thank you for joining us today in our conversation with Restoring Our Own Through Transformation, otherwise known as ROOT. In celebration of Black Maternal Health Week 2023, we will be discussing family planning and what that could look like for your family. Joining me today are Destiny Roberts, Amber Zolani Benton, and I'm Shania France.
Hey y'all, let's talk about family planning. This is really important in our when you are wanting to have a child, not everyone thinks about planning. What are the things that we should consider when family planning? So one of the things that come to my mind initially, not because I'm just a nutrition specialist, but nutrition, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to take care of our bodies. We have to make sure that we are getting the proper nutrients in our bodies, whether that's, eating our dark leafy greens for our iron. We're eating protein and fruits and vegetables, for our energy levels. Mm-hmm. We're making sure that we're moving our body with stretching and exercising. And also, along with nutrition, that may look like you going to your care provider, asking them for blood work just to see how you are, asking, for hormone levels to see if everything is in balance. Mm-hmm. And if it's not in balance, there are supplements that you can take to, balance those hormones in conjunction with your nutrition. And then, of course, water is life, so making sure that we're always drinking water, always drinking water, staying hydrated, yes, definitely drinking water.
Mm-hmm. Or set an alarm on your phone to remind you to drink your water, too.
Mm-hmm. And then they have these water bottles nowadays that have different times of when you should be drinking your water. Yes, how's it working for you?
I drink my water every day.
Yes, good.
That's one thing I'm going to do. I don't know about them greens, but...
Yes. So, as you are putting things in your body that is healthy, you're preparing your body to have a healthy space for baby to be developed. Mm-hmm. And then you just continue on to, incorporating those foods as baby is developed and, providing all the oxygen and blood flow just with the foods that you eat. Definitely. So that is one thing that came to my mind when we talk about family planning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another thing that comes to mind is traditions. There's different holidays and celebrations that come in mind when you're family planning. So it's do you want to celebrate this with your child or do you not? Right. I remember growing up. One year we didn't celebrate a certain holiday. I was confused about it, but then, the next holiday came up and we celebrated that. So, and also do you want to create your own tradition when you're family planning? What does your tradition look like? Mm-hmm. How about you? How was traditions when you were growing up?
Yeah, so traditions for me growing up, I wasn't ready. Hold on. Yeah, so traditions for me growing up. Go ahead, Shanae.
Well, I can tell you, with mine growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of traditions. We didn't celebrate a lot of holidays. But as I got older and we expanded our family, one of the things that we did for our boys were we did an 8-day circumcision. So we had a mohel come out to our home and perform the circumcision there. That for us meant that we had to, when we found out that we were pregnant, when we found out the sex of the baby, or a couple times when we didn't know the sex, we would give the mohel a heads up a few months ahead of time, let our family know. So to me, that felt like a new tradition to pass down to future generations, something different.
Yeah, so creating your own is what I love for sure. Other things that you can consider within the tradition is discipline. What does discipline look like?
That's a good one.
Everybody is gentle parenting. Well, not everybody, but there's a thing called gentle parenting out here that, the millennials are working so hard to do with their children.
A little Gen Z.
Yeah, or a little Gen Z. Okay. But yes, what does discipline look like, for your family? Is it gentle? Is it old school?
Right.
Or
we
something
already
even
know.
in the middle, like, I feel like as the generations change, like, the type of discipline changes. So, like, some people's grandma was hardcore, straight to the point, and then, some people didn't experience that, and kind of like finding that middle ground of like, okay, what are you okay with both of us disciplining our kid? Like,
Right.
so.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say to add on to that with the parenting styles is how do you, and if your partner is going to be involved, how do you both see your roles as parenting? Because a lot of times we'll get into the midst of being a parent and not understanding where some of the frustration may be coming from because we may not have had this conversation beforehand.
Yeah.
So, just trying something different. We're going to have a baby. What does this look like? What are your expectations for yourself? What are they for me? And then vice versa.
And also to go along with that, communicating within your parenting style. So dad may have something that works for him when he take care of the baby.
Right.
And mom has things that she does when she take care of the baby. So when dad is doing something and the baby is frustrated, mom is sometimes or most of the time, the baby doesn't like that,
Right.
And dad is like, well, how do you know? Because this is what I've been doing. So making sure like you communicate like, hey, when he's with me, he likes to be held in the cradle position. And then mom is like, okay, but when I'm trying to calm him down, he likes for me to hold him on the shoulder. I mean, we have extra chest areas, so of course, So just communicating, so the parents won't get frustrated, when it comes to like parenting style and the way that they, take care of the child, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. And it's really important to set those like boundaries and expectations early, because when you're in the moment, it's a lot harder to kind of like have this discussion of like, okay, we're not agreeing, let's find a compromise. Like, it's like, all right, well, the baby done already did some stuff that needs to be disciplined. So what we gonna do like in the meantime? Like, we gonna do nothing while we figure it out and come back? It's not easy to just do it straight ahead. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
So I would say the next thing that I would add on to that, which kind of segues into, well, from what you were talking about, is as far as how would you get pregnant. A lot of times we just think of intercourse. But what you would lead into from that, what I would take away from that would be not only the nutrition portion, would be also what your labs look like beforehand. Do you have any health issues before you've gotten pregnant? Also, what does your partner have as far as like a family history? Any illnesses, long-term things that they may be battling with? It could look like alcoholism, any type of addiction, sickle cell.
Blood type.
Exactly.
Blood type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blood type and compatibility.
Aside from that, once you've gotten past that, if you were able to get that far ahead before you became pregnant, would be, what does your ovulation look like? I know a lot of us grew up with you ovulate every 14 days, but that's not necessarily true for every woman. So I think that it's important that you know your own personal cycle. And that can look like you tracking your ovulation through cervical mucus. They even have some really cool mini microscopes that you use to check out your under the tongue saliva to see when you're ovulating, which gives you a bigger window to plan out, and of course to help you get pregnant. Anything else that you guys have ever discussed with your clients or that you've done before in your own?
I know my clients say that the ovulation sticks, the test sticks, really don't work.
Yeah, they give you a small window.
Yeah, they give you a small window, and then the thing that they had issues with was the timing of when they had to take the test.
Right.
Like, it was hard for them to remember, like, oh, don't use the restroom right now because in 4 hours I'm gonna have to take the test because I took the test at 11 o'clock yesterday. I'm gonna have to take the test at 11 o'clock, in the morning today. So it was just like like the timing of it, and like they would get the results, and sometimes it would say nothing at all.
Right.
And then it's just like the other times it was have that faint little line, and they're like, what do I do? So
Yeah, see, for me, I don't get pregnant on purpose. So. Let y'all take
Say.
that one.
I mean, but that's still, even if you get to a point in your life where you have been surprised by your pregnancy, there are still things that you can do in the beginning stages, you know, going back to, okay, so now I'm pregnant, now what? Let's schedule the appointment, you know, basics. What does my diet look like you were discussing earlier? My water, those are the things I know I can do right now while I'm waiting to be seen and decide the next steps after being pregnant.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Other than like, you know, talking about like diet and traditions, like, you know, discipline, religion, like are there any other things we should be considering prior to the discussion of like, okay, let's go have a baby?
I think finances for sure should definitely play a role. Like, can we afford this baby for real?
Yeah.
Like student loan
How
debt
many
and a baby
babies can we
shower?
afford? Does the government align with my funds? Does my job align? You know, finances. You know, just to see where you're at in your finances, just to make sure that you're able to cover the cost, or if your insurance covers the cost. Your insurance, you know, the price of your insurance might go up because you are considering to get pregnant, and then also. When you're working, like, have you been at your job long enough to get the benefits that you need that will
Right.
support you when you have your baby? What does maternity leave look like? What does
that's a good one.
paternity leave look like for the both of you? So I think that's another thing to consider for sure.
Yeah, that's a really big one. And even tying that back into like the expectations and traditions, that's something that I'm trying to figure out now too. Like, you know, thinking about where I want my daughter to go to school. Like, you know, can I pay for school, or do we need to be looking for a scholarship? Or like, you know, had I done some family planning ahead of time, like could I do like, you know, start saving then? But you know, we here. So we'll figure it out. But
I think the last thing that I would speak on regarding once you find out that you are pregnant, whether it's a surprise or not, would be what do you want your pregnancy to look like, and then further along your delivery. So of course, you know, being root doulas, call us up. And then also finding your care provider. So do you want to do a midwife, an OB, you know, what is it that you and your family find that works best for you?
yeah, that's solid. Thinking about like how you want your pregnancy to look and like the experiences you want to have. Because I can't have no baby with somebody that don't want no baby shower. Like I need a full thing, maternity pictures. I don't want all of that. Like we're not gonna shorthand nothing. Like I'm carrying a little human here.
Yes.
True
Correct.
story.
Yes.
Now, Destiny, what would you do if you weren't trying to get pregnant?
Oh, so how to not get pregnant. Gotcha. All right, so first things first, when thinking about, okay, you already kind of touched base on what ovulation is, you know. When you drop your egg, you know, to get pregnant, the egg got to get fertilized, have a baby. So how we are able to determine a really, like, good way to determine how you are, when you're ovulating, what? Oh. A good way to determine like when you're ovulating is looking at your vaginal discharge. So like your vaginal discharge goes through like different phases throughout your cycle. Like your cycle starts first day of your period, and then like, you know, keep on going until your next period comes. So directly after your period, you'll have like some dry, kind of like sticky discharge, nothing too crazy. That's infertile. Like you can't get pregnant right then. You're not supposed to be able to get pregnant right then. And then right before ovulation, you'll start to get more of a creamy consistency for your vaginal discharge. That is also considered non-fertile. So yeah, when you see that cloudy color, white color, dry, sticky, it's like, all right, cool. You cool. Things are good. But when you fertile and you want to be looking out, like if you ain't trying to get pregnant, this is the stuff you need to look for. So the first type of vaginal discharge is going to be like wet, really watery, very like clear. And then when you really ovulating, it's like sticky. Like think of like egg whites. Like you could take your finger like this and it's gonna come between your finger. So if it's clear, sticky, it's a lot down there, and you don't want to get pregnant, you gonna have to do something else to not get pregnant. So that's some stuff that you can consider. I think that's also very it's a little more accurate too than using the app to track your ovulation, because everyone has different cycles. If you're not a 28-day kind of girl, then you know, it ain't gonna work out like that. So seeing what your vaginal discharge is, being aware of what your vaginal discharge looks like, so you know, like, all right, today we can turn up, tomorrow we ain't.
Not so
We're
much.
gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, because some days can be, some women are 27-day people.
Yeah.
Some women are 30-day people, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to definitely check your vaginal discharge. Because
Yeah.
even like what the window 27 to 30 days is still normal. So,
Right. Right.
Or for the people to just fluctuate. One day your period was every 3 weeks, and now it's like every 4.5 or something. Like, it's too much work. If you don't want to have no babies, check your discharge.
And if you know what your body is doing, then that gives you more control and more freedom over your reproductive health too. So I
Yeah.
always feel like no one should know more about my body than I do.
right.
That awareness, powerful. Because you know
Yes.
something about your body that I don't.
Yeah.
Doula, doctor, whoever you are. Like, you know better than I do. So that's how
Yes.
you're going to start off with knowing. Check what's coming out down there, And you're going to be all right.
And don't be afraid to like be in tune with yourself. That's what it's all about. Like being in tune with my body. If something is happening in your body, you like, okay, something is not right. Instead of just quickly going to the doctor, like something is not right. Like you know your body, you know how it should be feeling. Tap into that.
Yeah, trusting that intuition. Because,
So what would I do if I found out that I am in that like ovulation area, but I'm still not ready to get pregnant?
Yeah, so before we even get to that part of like, you about to ovulate, some other ways you could prevent getting pregnant are like considering things like birth control. There's different methods of birth controls from like pills, patches, intrauterine devices, spermicides, vasectomy, hysterectomy, all of those good things, tubal ligation, all of those things are considered like ways of being on birth control, like controlling you starting a birth or something, I don't know, having a baby, whatever. So there's a bunch of different things that you can consider. So definitely want to, when you get to that part, kind of like think of like, your family values and your personal values, your partner's values, kind of like having those conversations of like, what kind of things will work for me? Talking to your healthcare providers about the things that fit into your lifestyle. Certain hormone therapy, certain birth controls have hormones in them that may not be a good idea for you. And there are options that are non-hormonal. So kind of like having that full conversation of what your options are to prevent pregnancy outside of doing your vaginal discharge, or if you just want that extra layer of support, your health provider can support you with that. And asking those questions, like, what are the options out there? There's like rings and all types of things. Like, it's all types of stuff that can like prevent you from getting pregnant.
Something for everyone.
Yes, something for everybody. And also, something that is really for everybody, condoms. Yes, so condoms are really cool because not only do they like prevent you from like getting pregnant if you don't want to get pregnant, like they protect you from STIs too. So like, that'll be like you go to girl if you're really not trying to get pregnant. The way the condoms work, they create like a barrier from the sperm to be able to like reach the egg. So that's how they work. When they're used correctly, they're very effective, but you got to use them correctly. So they do typically come in latex, but they do have other materials that are available for people that are allergic to latex. So like if you're allergic, your partner's allergic, that kind of condom is not going to be for you. You're going to find something different, and it's okay. But yeah, there's that. Condoms are definitely a thing. But when I say like use them correctly, that means like, use them before the expiration date. Don't be storing them next to like sharp objects. Like you probably don't want the condom that will sit next to a safety pin. Probably not a good idea. And then like I feel like you can find like videos on YouTube of how to put on and take off a condom properly. I'm not gonna really go that deep into it.
There's usually directions in the box
What
too.
about like the female condoms?
Yeah, those are a thing too. Those are a thing too. They work the same way as far as creating that barrier between like sperm being able to reach the egg. So when used correctly, they're effective. But sometimes people don't use stuff correctly. Stuff can be mishandled. Sometimes things slip off. They shift to the side. Something happened. Some didn't go right. What do you do when you like, oh my God, I might be ovulating. My condom didn't work right.
Good point.
So it's safe to have condoms with you at all times, whether they're female condoms or the condoms that the men use, for sure.
Yeah.
All the things. It's a lot of ways to not get pregnant, I'm telling you, y'all. But if the condoms don't work and you might be ovulating, there's some other options to consider. The first thing would probably be like an emergency contraceptive, or what they call like the morning after pill. Typically, you want to take that within 3 to 5 days. The sooner the better. Make sure you read the directions because the weight changes based off the brand that you use and stuff like that. And how that works is that prevents you from either ovulating or delays your ovulation. But if you're already ovulating, it's not going to work. So if you're already ovulating, we're going to have to go to the next steps. But that works by preventing ovulation. So that is very like clear, like, that's how that works. You can't be already ovulating.
That's a good point, though, that you brought up about the weight, because for that particular method, it does matter about your personal weight and then the time frame from when, you had unprotected sex or a failure to protect. versus when you actually take it, because you can take it too late or you could take too little and it not work.
And that'd be really hard. Like, it get too many rules when we like get like to the deeper of it. So it's like, start with the vaginal discharge and the condoms, and if we gotta get some emergency contraceptives, that's cool. But I would prefer, for me, I'm gonna do it right the first time, because that morning after pill, I don't weigh 150 pounds, so it's not gonna work for me. But yeah,
Very true. I think the next topic that I would want to hit on would be family spacing, spacing of your children. So for each family that looks different. You may choose to have your children much closer together, or you may choose to have them farther apart. So whenever you're thinking about spacing, again, you would go back to what would you do if you're trying to prevent pregnancy or aid in pregnancy taking place. So again, cervical mucus, tracking your ovulation, all those steps. The other thing that you want to take a look at, again, like how you had touched upon regarding finances, does it look good for us to bring in another child into our family, 1 year out from the last one, or do we maybe need to push it back a little bit further for our finances? Another thing that I found personally important to me was, what does my age look like when this child is going to be 18? So if you've, that's a big one. A lot of people don't think of that till you actually had the child, because there takes a lot of energy. So not just the physical, but your energy, your mind space. What do you want your life to look like at that time? Do you want to be hanging out with your partner or with your friends? But you can't, because now you got a little one running around. So those are some things to consider when spacing out your family. And of course, your family's goals and what your partner, what goals they may have, or where they see themselves fitting into having another child at this point in your life.
And even your support system during that time, because I'm going to be a hot girl mom and a doctor. It's like, I'm going to do all the things. Like, all of them are going to fit. I'm going to make it work. So your support system matters too. Like, really locking in there. Like, all right, y'all, who taking Friday? Because Saturday I'm out.
Right.
And it's interesting when you talked about, like, what is your life going to look like when this child is 18? Because, child, my dad had another baby when I was 23, okay? And I love him so much. Yes, shout out to Bubby Dean, Robert Dean. But I love you so much, Bubby. I'm glad you're here. The best thing ever.
Love you.
But me and my sister were just like, are you for real?
Like, you try to be a parent forever. I mean, not like you stopped being a parent, but like, come on now, you need a babysitter again.
My dad asked for either a nephew or a grandson. And at the time, me and my aunt were like, no. And then, like, we turn around 2 weeks later, he's like, yep, we're having a baby. And
he said, y'all took too long.
I'll do it myself.
He said, that's exactly what he said. He said, well, if you want something done, you got to do it yourself. Okay.
Ain't waste no time.
So then that might also tie into, oops, like, we're 40, we're about to have a baby, didn't mean to,
all right.
It's happening. So, like, how do you navigate that,
Yeah.
That's solid, like, because I remember thinking in school, like, bro, your mom look young, but your mom look like low-key old. Like, I didn't even think about, like, that really be happening. Like, you really got to think about that stuff. Like,
yeah,
that's a good question.
Yeah. So what would you do if you had to pivot?
If you got to pivot, well, we already kind of talked about emergency contraceptive. But again, that does not work if you're already ovulating. So, you used your condom and messed up. The plan C, D, all of them things, the emergencies was not emergency and how they needed to be. Your vaginal discharge was just, it wasn't accurate this time. I don't know. Like, something went wrong.
Yeah.
And now you got this little human in your belly, and this is not what you were planning on. The first thing you can do when it initially happens is kind of thinking back on some of those things that Zoe mentioned at the beginning of the video. Like, those family values and those things that you want for, your pregnancy, for your life after you have your kid. Like, is this something you can expedite or something that you want to expedite to kind of like, shift things and prepare to have a baby? Or, if you don't, like, here are some things you can consider, such as like, adoption. If you want to just carry the baby, but you don't have the you don't have the health to be able to take care of a human for another like 20 years or so.
Right.
And then also termination is also an option, but one of the big things to just really promote is just that reproductive freedom. Like you have that option to be able to say how, when, where, and even if you want to have children.
Yes.
So kind of like having that moment to like really just like, you know, have a conversation with yourself, have a conversation with who your support people are, and kind of like figure out what is going to be the best decision for you, because like, you know, stuff get crazy. We have all types of plans for things, and you know, plans like have this idea that they're like permanent, like it got to go this way, but it's like
Right.
sometimes stuff be off balance, sometimes stuff don't go right, and you know, it's not like an end all be all, like, you know.
Right.
So yeah, that's how you don't get pregnant, and if you get pregnant and you don't want to get pregnant, what you do about it? So yeah. In closing, I also wanted to just re-emphasize that reproductive freedom. How, when, where, and if you want to get pregnant, that option is completely up to you. Your body autonomy is yours. And really having that time to refresh and reflect on the things that are going to work for you in your life, depending on you and your partner's circumstances, your values, your expectations, and just being able to like make those decisions and know what decisions are out there and how you can prevent you know, things that you don't want to happen, or, you know, promote things that you do want to happen. So yeah, this is how we root. I'm Destiny, this is Zoe, this is Shania, and yeah, nice talk.
This is family planning.
Yeah, family planning.